Okay. All right. Welcome, everyone. Welcome. Hello. We are back with Teen Talk Live, and I believe that it's going to work this time. Are back with Teen Talk. I just need to make sure my microphone is silenced. Thanks to Doug. Shout out to Doug at Zoom who helped me to navigate this technical difficulty. Again, welcome. I'm Ann Dillard, your licensed marriage and family therapist and host of this weekly segment of Teen Talk Live. And we are always interested in transforming the lives and minds of teens and those who love them. So tonight, again, we're going to give it another try, and I think it's going to work. I have a very special guest with us, and it's my daughter, Monisha Dillard Washington. I'm still getting used to saying Washington, okay? So let me play it off a little bit. Welcome, Monisha.
Hi, Miss Ann. Thank you for having me.
Anyways, yeah. Welcome. We're going to try to make it through this segment and try to be as professional as possible, but she's already threatened that she's going to bring out a side of me that many people don't know. So anyway, Monisha, welcome. How do you serve the world, girl?
Good evening. I am a kindergarten teacher in Chicago Public Schools.
Okay. Can you adjust your microphone just a little bit so I can hear you a little more?
I sure can. Try.
Okay. This new setup with Facebook Live and Zoom is really interesting. And so I'm going to try to navigate the comments like I normally would. And I welcome all my guests who are here. Hey, Kiki, I'm so glad you are here. Velvet, welcome. Thanks for joining us. And Brenda, thanks for being here. Make sure you all share this out because we are kicking off Mother-Daughter Relationship Month, which is May and June. And so we are kicking it off with our own story, our mother-daughter, our Unchained story. And we want you to share this out, setting the tone for this work and the next, 8 broadcasts. So please share this out and invite others to come in and talk with us tonight. Okay, Monisha, there you are. Thanks for hanging in there with me, both through the technical difficulties of this broadcast and life.
Right.
So thank you really for accepting the invitation to be my guest tonight. And we're just going to jump right in and start. And one of the reasons why we are here is because we started having this conversation a little while back when I was invited to be a part of an anthology with Audra Upchurch, and it's called Unchain My Legacy. Now, to me, this was an invitation to do something and actually do something and face some fears that I have been working on or thinking about facing. So this was a really good venue for me to do that. So I'm so glad that this opportunity presented itself, a perfect forum to go ahead and work on some things that I knew we needed to work on. So Monisha, thank you for being on that journey with me.
No problem.
Okay, I can't hear you that well.
No problem. Is that better? I just need to use my teacher voice.
Yes, I need you to use your teacher voice.
All right.
So when I first approached you about this, what were your thoughts or what were you thinking about when I came with the idea of engaging me in this process?
The original, when you were talking about the book chapter?
Yes.
I think my first initial thought was, I don't think she can really handle what I got to say. Because I know the question kind of sprung from the journal entry that I found. and that I shared part of it with you. And then I was like, I know this is only skimming the surface of some of the feelings that I had when I was younger. So not only being unsure of you being ready to hear what I was thinking at those times, but also having to revisit those feelings that I felt that I had already grown past or buried deep enough where I felt like they weren't affecting my daily life. I was uncertain. And then I just got to a point where I was like, well, this is the invitation to share that I probably wish I had when I was younger. So I need to take advantage of it. And I'm grown. I don't live in your house. So there's not too much you can do to me now. So I might as
Like I
well
do something to you.
like I said, so I might as well just be open and honest because I have the opportunity, because the consequences will be better, will be more positive than negative at this point in life.
Right, right. And I appreciate that because one of the points that I talk about in the book is that, you know, when people are ready to work this process, to also be aware that other people might not be ready also. So that was
Right.
one of the thoughts that I had before even contacting you about, hey, would you entertain this thought with me?
Right.
The possibility that you might say, no, mom, I'm done with that. I've tucked it away.
Yes, but I think I also had a understanding of mental health where even though it's not, we often say that you have to accept the apology that you never receive in order to move on, but it also, that doesn't mean that the hurt's still not there or that the issue's still not there. You just got to a point where you admitted that you might never address this, you might never get closure, so I need to let it go so I can be a healthier me. But the issues are still there. It's still
Right,
there.
right. And I understand that process. And I'll go back to when, let's go back to when I call and set up a time that would be good for you. And I said, the question that I asked you was, what do you wish you knew when you were 13? I mean, you're a lot older than 13 now, but the question was, what do you wish you knew when you were 13? And the reason why I chose that question was because I was battling with my own challenges and issues that I was going through, that at the age of 13, it seemed like that was a significant year in my life. And so approaching it from that standpoint would kind of put us on equal playing field, because I'm coming from at it from age 13 where I was, and I wanted to know from you, where were you at age 13? What did you wish you knew? And so ironically enough, it's like you reached over and found your journal. I'm like, you're almost 29. How do you have your 13-year-old journal sitting right next to you? Right. So I was like, oh Jesus, here we go. So and I'm not going to give away everything that's in the book, even though we're talking candidly. I'm not going to share everything that's in the book. So, you know, drop in the comments if you want to order the book. You know, we're going to have pre-sale starts next week. So if you want a copy of it, Unchain My Legacy, you can read about the details and the step-by-step explanation that I gave. So when I called you and you happened to have your journal sitting there and you read it to me, that was an experience in and of itself. And so going through that was quite challenging, but the at that point it wasn't really about me. It was about, how do I work through this process with you, right? And so what I wanted to know is, what was your conclusion after reading your journal entry to me? What was the conclusion or the main thing that you said you wish you knew when you were 13?
Um, the biggest thing in retrospect that I wish I knew when I was 13 was that my voice and my opinion and my emotions were all valid, because there was a lot of conflict with me having an opinion, me having a voice, me having a say in the matters of my life. And at times I did not express myself. It might not have been the most respectful or the way that my parents expected me to or would have appreciated me to. But I think that when those moments happen, it was coming from a place of, well, you don't want to hear what I have to say anyway, so I'm going to say it how I know how to say it because I want to say it. But then constantly having your opinion or your voice be shut down or discredited, I am grateful that I wrote in the journal, because I think that that helped me hold on to that voice, because it has been pivotal in the role that I have in different relationships and in my own career now. That is
Right.
still very important, and I'm able to teach that also to my students. When I have
Right.
students who are going through different emotional things, I can't just tell them, just be quiet. No, it's okay that you feel that way, but it's
Right.
not okay that you say it this way, or it's not okay that you do it that way. So because I needed my feelings to be validated, I'm able to validate the feelings of those who are around me now. And I do believe that journaling helped me, journaling and prayer helped me to maintain that voice, because that could have also had me go into a shell. And for part of my development in school and other relationships, I did go into a shell. It was hard for me to share my feelings and share my stories and share my life with even my closest friends, the people who I call my best friends. I had a lot of friends who would be like, you don't really talk about this. And they would challenge me and make me get closer to them and make me let them in, because they noticed that I was not a sharer, because I had been so used to having my voice be denied.
Right. Right. And that's a really, really good point. And I remember that when you shared that, that was the critical thing that you wish you knew. Ironically enough, that was the same thing I wish I knew. And so, growing up in a society where the rule was speak when you're spoken to, answer when you're called, children are seen and not heard, kind of thing, and inadvertently transferring the same behavior, even though it wasn't good for me, because I wasn't intentional in the way that I was parenting in that sense, inadvertently passing it on
Mm-hmm.
without even knowing it,
Right,
right? Because
right,
it's not something that and I'm not trying to make excuses. I'll own the things that I didn't do as a parent. I'm not trying to make excuses about that, but inadvertently passing on things without knowing it. And
right.
that's why, parenting it has to be such an intentional thing.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so as a result of not being able to share my voice, my opinions, that feeling like those things don't matter and passing on the same thing to you, one of the things that worked for me, and I'm so glad you had journaling. I'm so glad you had the youth groups at church or youth group at church.
Spirit.
What was the name of the group?
Kindred spirits.
Kindred Spirit, and Gina ran the group, and
Yep.
and it was amazing because Gina ran the group and we trusted Gina. We allowed you to do some things, that we normally wouldn't do, which now I realize that I was operating out of fear because the things that has happened in my life, and I it's almost like I had a checklist of this not gonna happen to you, this not gonna happen to you, this not gonna happen to you, and not necessarily looking at those things and saying, but this is going to happen. This is going to happen. And so a lot of the things that I did as a parent was out of fear of what I don't want to repeat in your life.
Right.
And so I'm grateful that you had that outlet to be able to journal and to be able to express your voice in another way. What I did realize for me is that somewhere along the line, food became my friend. And I use that as my emotional outlet, right? Eating, learning how to cook. I was a good cook.
Yes, you were.
And yes, and using that as an outlet, as a way to soothe those emotional scars, and inadvertently teaching those things to you
Right.
as well, right? Can you say a little bit about that?
It's funny because when you first said that you taught me to be an emotional eater, I was like, no, you didn't. But after think about it, I could pull different instances where maybe the household was tense. So we're all going to go get some ice cream and go to the park. Or let's bake cookies. Or I'm going to make some fried dough. Like different things that I can pinpoint. There's a problem, let's eat.
Yeah.
We're happy, let's eat. Like just being retrospective. It doesn't have to all be negative, but
Right.
I mean, it's part of human nature. What do we do when we celebrate somebody? We bring some food. We get a cake. Like that's part of our cultural societal norm is to eat, to celebrate, to eat, to mourn. But when it gets into more of an emotional security blanket, I was able to see that from those habits, I ended up turning to food the same way. That when I was away at school feeling lonely, it's okay because I'm in my room, I can eat. I feel okay when I'm eating.
Right.
Things like that where you just don't think about it when it's happening. Not until you have health concerns. And you're like, how did this happen?
Right. And I ate. Next thing I knew, I was almost 350 pounds and passing on the same habits and the same behaviors because, again, not taking care of my emotions, but finding something to soothe me in the moment, right? And not even realizing that what I was doing was teaching not just you, but your brothers also how to eat, how to handle their emotions. And that was difficult that was a difficult realization.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when you said, no, you didn't teach me how to eat. And I had to say, no, yeah, I did, because I had learned some stuff.
Right.
By then, so I'm just going to pause just a little bit and check in on the comments. And we have some people watching us. I see Lavelle is here. Hey son, I'm glad you're here. And Mika is here with me. Hey cousin. And she said, wow, unlearning and relearning, which is the whole process. Like even now, learning, relearning some stuff. Miss Natalie said, yes, you are. And Dad said, I agree with Lavelle. Miss Natalie said, caught myself emotional eating the other day. And I hear you. It's a constant struggle. It's a constant struggle. And Sister Velvet said, how do we do that? Take care of emotional side. And I'll come back to that. Sister Bonnie said, I still find cooking therapeutic. And hey, Lavelle, hey, son, I'm so glad you're here. And okay, so let's talk about Sister Velvet's question. She said, how do we take care of the emotional side? What would you suggest?
What worked for me, well, first of all, what worked the most for me is when I went to counseling. My senior year in college, there was just a certain different instances that kept happening. And I was in another girls group there, or young women's group there. And I was like, this is too much. Like, I'm about to graduate from college. I'm about to go into the real world. I have way too much emotional baggage. Like, I need to talk to somebody to help me figure this out and to navigate it. And I didn't feel like I could go to my parents at that time. So, because they were the source of the problem, according to me. So counseling helped me so I could talk about it. And everybody has a big perception about what counseling is, but it really was helpful because I was able to talk through things that I had never shared with anybody else. And this person who doesn't know me outside of the college campus was able to, look from the outside looking in and help me piece things together. It also gave me a different perspective. I was holding all of those things against my parents, but now I'm older. Okay, think about what they had to do. Think about their own experiences. Think about all the things that they were encountering while they were also trying to parent. So now I have to have this different perspective. So then now, later on, now that I've acknowledged that I'm an emotional eater, acknowledge these different things, now I need to find other ways to channel. If I'm upset, if I'm having a bad day, what do I need to do? Do I need to go get a pedicure? Do I need to put on some music? Do I need to just clean the house? Like, I need to find another thing to address those feelings. But it's also figuring out what the source of the problem is. Because a lot of times we can say, oh, I'm so tired because I had a bad day at work today. But your day at work might not have been that bad because really it was the phone call you had last night before you went to bed that triggered these different thoughts and these different feelings, and it wasn't dealt with. So you woke up, it's still on your mind, and that impacted your whole day. And now with all the stress of work added to that, now you're sitting in front of the TV eating some chips and the bag is gone. Like that, you have to find the source and be real with yourself because it's very, very difficult to look at yourself naked in the mirror and be real and really say this is a problem or I'm the problem in this situation. It's very difficult, but you have to find something that's not food to help you cope with those things. And it's just baby steps. Don't expect to wake up the next day and be like, okay, this problem solved. I'm not going to eat anymore when I'm upset or when I'm tired. It's baby steps. But acknowledging that you're an emotional eater is already a big step.
Right.
Because a lot of people don't realize that that's what's happening until, again, it's too late.
Right. And, it's really good. Your brother said good stuff, Mo. Good stuff. And this is good stuff. Dad says, he says, Monisha, you're awesome. I'm so proud. You're so articulate too. Wow. Okay. So anyways, yes, this is good stuff. And not, I remember part of my process was going to a 12-step program to learn some of those things and to identify my contribution and what I had done. And so I couldn't say, well, this was going on, that was going on. I had to, own my part of the big misses that I made in parenting, because that was my stuff to own. But when we know better, we do better. And so I'm glad that you had I'm glad that you had the venue of counts and the opportunity to receive counseling, because that, I think, helped and it helped. My 12-step program helped me, your counseling helped you, and that helped us to be able to come together on a different level to say, hey, yes, was I a good mom? Yeah, but I did some stuff that wasn't right.
And what's funny, I think it's funny when you say that, because you said that before when we were talking about the book, that you're like, there's some things that you didn't do right as a parent. And I'm like, I mean, all kids think their parents are doing something wrong, but usually those are the things that they're doing right. So I don't know. I guess it's all perspective. It's all from your intentions. But regardless of my feelings throughout my teenage and early 20s, I think you did all right.
Thank you. Now that wasn't a genuine laugh. That was a laugh so I don't cry laugh. But thank you. I mean, that means a lot coming from you, because when I'm thinking about the book, and I didn't just do this for the book was just the catalyst, right? But when I'm thinking about it, I think about the ways that I was brought up, the values that I was brought up with, and the things that I don't want to see passed down to my 5 by 50. Why the side eye? So that's our running family joke. I said I wanted 5 grandkids by 50.
55,
but
5 by 55, triple grace. That might have to be it.
Whatever. But the reality is that I want, my desire for my children, my 4 children, is that they are emotionally well, right? So that they can pass down to my grandchildren some different stuff, right? There's some good stuff there, but I want them to have some different level of emotional intelligence and things like that, because that's the kind of legacy that I want. I don't want the legacy of high blood pressure. I don't want the legacy of diabetes. I don't want the legacy of suicide ideation. I don't want the legacy of abuse and all that kind of stuff. I want the legacy of health and wellness. And so I believe that going through this process, God's going to free up, hallelujah, the other 3, or the other 2 to make my 5 by, well, maybe
by 55.
But really and truly, it's about unchaining my legacy. And I think that's a perfect title of what this is about. And I think we should all take a look at, what are we passing down to our children? What are we, I mean, when I step back and I look at the hurt that I've caused my children, and I still have to do this work with your brothers too. But when I step back and look back at it, I'm like, how could I be so blind to that? Because those were the same things that I experienced. So it helped me to understand that if we're not intentional about some things, we end up repeating it, and we call it a family curse. And it's not a curse. It's behavioral patterns that we keep repeating over and over and over again, because that's what we know. And unless we make that intentional U-turn, which is a painful turn to make, unless we make that intentional U-turn, then we're going to keep passing on those emotional behaviors, emotional patterns from generation to generation. And so this is just the beginning for me. And I'm just going to pause and thank my guests for being here tonight. Mika, you are so right. Yes, it's unlearning. The unlearning must happen. The things that is so common in our family. We see it. Grandmama did it, and aunties and uncles and cousins are going through the same thing. And we have to unlearn those things so that we can relearn some or learn some new behaviors and new patterns. And Sister Bonnie said, I'm loving this. Thank you both for sharing. And Bonnie, I appreciate you being here, and I appreciate you participating in this dialogue. Mika said, we cannot give what we don't have, even if you really want to. Yes, it's hard to give what we don't have, and we really, really want to, because when I started my family at age 20, I wanted a whole lot of things differently, and we did do a lot of things differently. But the reality is, without knowing how to achieve what I really wanted, I ended up perpetuating some of the same cyclical behaviors.
And
And
that also has to do with avoidance. You think that by avoiding those things,
right, that's a good point.
that you prevent them from coming back up or from them occurring, but you have to address them in order for them to really go away. You can't just avoid them because they're still going to be sitting there.
That's a really good point. Let me see what Lavelle said. Lavelle said, was there ever a particular event that triggered the change in you both, or was there a combination of different events that got it started? Also, Noah says hi as he sees both of you on the screen. Hey, Gigi Nails. So Lavelle said, was there a particular incident that occurrence that triggered the change? You can start, Monisha.
You want me to take it first?
Yeah.
The change emotionally or in eating, or is that both? I guess.
I think it could be both.
I think that the counseling started it for me, because I really did not like my parents at all. And I wrote a letter that I never sent and kind of got all those feelings out, because she helped me see a different perspective. And so once I had that understanding, I started to just approach you guys differently and kind of appreciate you differently. Even in those moments that I still just didn't like you, I was able to get out of them faster in that transition, because it was more. Like, everybody is really trying to be the best person that they know how to be. And I was able to, if I can use that for a random person on the street, why can't I use it for my parents? You really are being the best parents that you knew how to be. And regardless of what I felt at the time, it helped me just to realize that I know nobody's perfect. I had already had that realization, but I think realizing that you all were not perfect and understanding that you knew that you weren't perfect were two different moments in time. So once that was clear, I think that it helped me to approach our relationships differently and to appreciate all the good. And again, just realizing that you're just being the best person that you know how. Wow. Health-wise, it came from a doctor visit that I wasn't fully informed about my health, and the doctor's recommendation was diet pills. And I said, no, not going to do that. So found another way to do it, and realizing that I'm young, I'm 28. Like, I can't have health issues. I'm 28 years old. I don't have kids yet. I want to be able to live a full and fruitful and prosperous life, and I have to do my part in that, because I had gone through many different phases mentally with my eating, with working out, with trying to lose weight, but not really trying to lose weight, and then accepting, okay, maybe I'm just supposed to be overweight, and I'm just going to enjoy life, and that includes eating what I want to eat. And going through those different phases of feeling like I was controlling it and being in control, right, to the point that when the doctor says, well, you are straddling the line of pre-diabetes, and I have to sit back like, no, that's not going to work. So now I need to do my part so that God can provide the rest. Right. So those are my two, I guess, situations that triggered my emotional and health changes.
Wow, thank you for sharing that. And for me, it was also I watched my father, and it was a doctor visit with my father where the doctor said, you're in line for all of this that your father has. And also watching my children and watching my daughter gain weight and feeling out of control. I couldn't do it. I felt like I couldn't do anything about it. And so that's when I made up my mind that since I believe that I caused a lot of it, what I'm going to do is be the best example possible. And that was within my control, that I could do. Even though at that time she wasn't necessarily ready to accept it, but I had to be the the best example with the information that I now have. And that was important for me. And that's all a part of unchaining my legacy, and making it, putting a blueprint out there, even though, she's choosing to do it a different way, but there are many ways of doing it. The fact is, just do it and be healthy. Right. And I want to circle back to something that you said, Monisha. You said avoidance. You were talking about avoidance. And I think that's really important. Growing up, I'm grateful for the upbringing that I had in the church. I'm really grateful for that. That has been, remarkable. It's been my life. Also, one of the things that I've learned, which is not necessarily a good message, is that some things you just pray about and you forget it, you leave it at the cross per se, and you move on. And so I never necessarily learned that you pray about it and then work on it also. Yeah. And so as much as I could bury and as much as I could act like it didn't exist, even though I lived it, as much as I could act like didn't exist, it seemed like that was what I was supposed to do. And so it came out as avoidance, which is really doing what I thought that I should do as a good Christian.
Right.
Right. And so knowing better now and learning to do better, and it's difficult, it's painful, because some of that stuff, I'm almost 50, so that I still have to dig up some of that stuff. And there's a lot of relationships in my life that I have to go back and repair and heal, because I thought, just avoid it, move on, pray about it, turn it over. Mm-hmm. Then let's move on. But it doesn't work like that. Mm-hmm. And so here we are. So this is good stuff. Lavelle said, it is easy. Is it easier or harder to maintain your journey in health and life now that you see results? And is it still a daily discipline? For me, it's still a daily discipline. I still struggle with my weight issues. I've gained back some of my weight, and I'm working on it daily, and I could tell when I'm on an emotional brink, because I want to eat. I still want to eat, even though I know that that's not what I'm supposed to do. It's still an emotional struggle for me, and it's a choice that I have to make every single day. And somebody else said something. Dad said, thank you. This is awesome. I love and appreciate you sharing this. I think I remember that time, kind of. Either way, this is really good. That's your dad.
But to go back to Lavelle's question as well, yes, it is still daily. It is a little easier for me because I've had such great progress, and I can look back and say, okay, I've come this far. I don't want to go back, because when I look at some of my old pictures, I remember being that big, but then at the same time, I don't, compared to where I am now. And those pictures are starting to get more emotional for me, because sometimes I'm like, how was I living? Like, how is this okay? But we find other things. If I'm going to be big, I'm going to be cute too. Like, we find other things to do to make it okay and to be comfortable in that skin, even though we're very uncomfortable. I didn't realize how uncomfortable I was until I lost some of the weight. Right. And so when I do get into a place where I might want to emotionally eat, because of my method of losing weight, I have certain restrictions that, I mean, I can eat whatever I want to, whenever I want to, but it's a choice. So I've already made this choice that I'm not going to eat these things for this progress. So now I'm feeling a certain type of way, but I still have to catch myself and not eat the healthy foods too much and not overeat
Right.
in the foods that are okay for me to eat for my body and be
Right.
like, oh, well, it'll be all right until tomorrow, because that's going back into the same pattern. And I think that's another trap that we get stuck in too. Oh, well, they're baked chips, so I'll eat a whole bag instead of a half a bag of the regular chips. Or, oh, the ice cream, this says it's good for you, or it's low fat, or whatever the case may be. So it's okay, it's better than eating the bad stuff, so to say.
Right.
But it's still following the same behaviors. And
Right.
because I've been able to identify that in some of my triggers, then maybe I'm just going to drink some water and I'm just going to go to bed early so I can stop thinking about it. Or, or call somebody, realizing the trigger so I can make better choices, because I know how good I feel now as I'm on the journey to be healthy. And that includes emotional and mental. And I can't allow myself to fall into those same habits, because that's backtracking. And I have too many things ahead of me for me to backtrack to where I've come from. And for me to, for me to be fortunate enough to have these realizations at 28, I need to take advantage of it instead of waiting until it could actually be a health concern later, or
Right.
another issue later in life that inhibits the things that I want for my life.
Right.
So, but it is still a daily struggle, and commitment to myself and my future. That's really what it is. I have to remember why I got healthy in the first place.
That is so important. And I appreciate you sharing that. And yes, Lavelle, you can ask a deeper question concerning our response. And Anthony, my son-in-law, said, no time for backtracking.
Amen.
So, first, Missy says, you have such an amazing and inspiring daughter. Yes, I do. I have loved witnessing her journey and cheering her on from a distance for the past near decade. Monisha, you continue to make me proud of your self-assessment and determination to live a better way for you.
Thanks, Missy.
Yes. And the thing about it, Monisha, and what a lot of people might not know who don't know you, they might not know that you were never a person who went around and felt, outwardly displayed that, I'm the big girl, so I can't do this and I can't do that. I've always admired how you've taken the world on, and even ran for, what was it, homecoming queen. Ran and won homecoming queens, because you exuded confidence no matter what size you were. And I think part of the journey is being comfortable with yourself and appreciating yourself wherever you are, as you work to where you're trying to go. I think that's really important. Lavelle says, do you feel that your friends or family who may have seen you both overweight and did not say anything to you let you down? Or do you wish someone would have said something? I don't feel like my friends and family have let me down, because my friends and family, a lot of times what I've realized is that when they see me and they interact with me, they didn't see weight. They saw me. And so, and it probably wouldn't even matter if they had said something, because the reality is this is an individual journey, and we have to come to this realization in our time by ourselves. We can have examples set before us so that when we're ready to make that choice, we have options. But I don't think that they've let me down in any way. If anything, I thank them for their love and their support every step of the way. So what would you say to that, Monisha?
That's a funny question, because I started to have that thought recently. Because as I look at my old pictures, I'm like, how come nobody told me I looked like that? how come nobody told me that I was living like this? But then I also remember when I was younger and you would make comments and try to, say different things. And because the weight is just a reflection of inner hurt.
Exactly.
So if someone did say something, I probably would have got more defensive.
Yeah.
It's just showing, it would just be me realizing that I'm letting my hurt show.
Yeah.
That would be it. And I wouldn't have responded in a positive way. So like you said, I love my close friends and family for loving me through that and being the support that I needed to get to where I am now.
That's right.
Because they were still there and the love was real and still is, regardless of the weight loss. Because that's something else that comes up too. When you start to get healthy, all of a sudden people want to be in your face. You saw me at my worst, and now you try to come in my face at my best. If you can't be with me at 280, I don't know if I need you with me at 210. But it's okay. I'm a smile, and thank you for your compliment. But I really appreciate it. It makes me cherish the friends who were loving me for real through it all. It makes me cherish them a little bit more because they were there regardless. You said, I don't know that they saw the weight the way that I'm seeing it now, being reflective.
Exactly. I think that's good stuff. And Kendra said you are one of her biggest role models.
Oh.
And so as we Velvet says some people do treat you differently. I have experienced that, and so have I, Velvet. And I could do a whole segment on how people disregard you when you're big and act like you're not even with your husband. But I won't go there. We're talking about mother-daughter relationship right now. We're talking about mother-daughter relationships. So I'm going to stay on topic because, yes, people do treat you differently. And I'm so grateful for my family and my friends who loved me through whatever stage of life I'm in. And I appreciate that. So, Monisha, as we getting ready to close, I just want to say thank you again. And like I said to you when we had that conversation, I'm so sorry for being the catalyst of some of the pain and the hurt that you've gone through in life. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. And I'm so glad that you have extended that measure of grace to me as your mother. And I'm forever grateful for being your mother. And I just want you to take a second to just share, with our audience, just two things to think about as they think about unchaining their own legacy and making repairs with their children, whether they're 13 or 30. Just share two things that's really important in that process.
One thing is definitely, like what I told you before, I wish I knew when I was 13, is to validate your kids' feelings, validate their voice. I'm not saying allow them to run your household and be disrespectful and all that, but there is a issue with parent-child relationships, with parents believing in almost being tyrants, that I'm older, I am in charge, I'm paying the rent, you do what I say, you do not as I do, you do not talk back to me, you don't do this, but also wanting us to grow up and be independent and be world changers. Can't be world changers if we're stifled every time an idea comes up. So I think that it is very important for parents to validate their children and give them those skills, teach them the time and place. No, you're not going to dispute with me about bedtime, but I'm gonna let you choose what we have for breakfast tomorrow. Like give them avenues to express that, to have choice, and then even when they hear a no, give them an avenue to, well, maybe they might have a point. Let them plead their case. But I'm not saying I don't have no kids, So I'm not saying to do that for every situation. I'm not saying to do it every moment of every day, but I think it is very important that children know that they have a voice, especially in this world today. You don't know who your children encounter when they leave the house. When they go to school, you know their teacher, but there are other adults in the building. You don't know what they're going to come against. So you want to make sure you are raising children who can stand firm and hold their own, regardless of an adult, because adult does not mean authority. And if children don't learn that at home, it's going to be hard for them to avoid some of those negative situations that they may encounter out in the world, even at a young age, even in those places that are supposed to be safe spaces. So it is very important to validate children's feelings and voices. Something else that I told you also, it's okay for you not to be perfect. It is okay for parents not to be perfect. When a child realizes that their parent is not perfect, at the first instance, it is heartbreaking. It crushes a child's world because your parents are your superheroes. They can do anything and everything. They can fix anything. They are invincible in your mind. But when you realize a parent is not perfect, it also takes the pressure of being perfect off of your child.
That's good stuff.
A parent, I'm not saying throw all your dirty laundry in your child's face, be like, oh, I did this. I'm not saying that. But it is okay to make mistakes. I've learned being a teacher that children are the most forgiving. Children are more forgiving than we are. So if I make a mistake in front of my students, in front of my 5 and 6 year olds, I am quick to say, oh, I'm sorry, Miss Washington made a mistake. Let me look that up again. Or I told you this the wrong way. Let's try it this way and go back and fix it. And children will surprise you. They are more resilient than we are as adults. So it is okay for you to show some imperfection in front of your child, because a lot of times if a child does not see you in a human light, it will hinder them from approaching you when they make a mistake. Because that's what I experienced. It's hard to be imperfect in front of perfect parents.
Right.
Whereas if you know that they are imperfect, okay, mom and dad are who I'm supposed to go to when this happens, because they can help me.
Right.
And we can jump back up. I might not be good at this, but I can be good at that. It's okay, because nobody's perfect. But I think that parents miss the mark in that, and they want to uphold that pedestal and uphold that superhero, because it makes them feel good. Because you got this little person looking at you for everything and believing that you can do no wrong.
Right.
But once they get to a certain age, that ends up stifling their growth as well. You don't want them to find the imperfections in others necessarily. Sometimes it can help, because that's what helped me. Seeing other people who were imperfect, I was able to relate and talk to them every now and then. But it's nothing like being able to talk to your parents.
That's right. And I'm not perfect.
I know.
I should have told you when you were 13, but I'm not perfect.
Or 12 or 10.
Anyways, Dad said that, you have to go back and read all the good comments that Dad gave to you. Sister Bonnie said children will help you fix it, which is really good. And Dad said you need your own show. And Sister Velvet said that was my turnaround for me, realizing my parents were not perfect, and she had a past that affected her life also. That is so true. I was listening to Beth Moore the other day, and she was saying you are not your past, but your past definitely impacts your future. Absolutely. And your passion. And I'm so grateful that I am not my past. I'm so grateful I don't look like what I've been through. And I'm so grateful that we were able to raise children who will offer us so much grace. And Monisha, thank you. Thank you for that. And how can people reach you?
You can reach me on Facebook. Monisha Washington. Monisha Washington. I am also on Instagram and Twitter.
Okay, and you can't find her under my friend list because she's still not my friend yet. So
Keep holding out hope.
So anyways, you can reach at Monisha Washington. Thank you again so much for joining us for this really candid conversation as we kick off mother-daughter relationship month. As we're looking forward to Mother's Day. And, I'm so happy that I'm able to celebrate Mother's Day with my children, even though they're in different parts of the world. But there are so many people who Mother's Day isn't a happy day for them. And I mean, that's one of the greatest honor that I have, is being your mother and mother to your brothers, and grandmother to children, and the other two that's coming. And I know Kendra and I, we're touching and agreeing. And I love you.
Yeah.
I love you. I love you. And thank you all so much for joining us. And please share this out, because maybe this can help some hurting mother, daughter heal their relationship. And you can find me on Facebook as Ann Dillard. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And also we have a group that's coming up, a membership group. It's called I Love My Daughter, But that's coming up because there are so many issues and so many challenges that's faced in this one of the most important relationships in our lives. And I want to make sure that I use my clinical skills as well as my parenting experience to help guide you in navigating that very critical and important relationship. So coming up soon is that membership site, I Love My Daughter. And tune in to Teen Talk Live every Monday night at 8 o'clock. Next week, we'll have another mother-daughter pair with you, and you don't want to miss it. I'm so glad you're here with us tonight. Thank you for joining us on Teen Talk Live, where we transform the minds of teens and those who love them. Have a great night, everyone. Thank you, Monisha.
Thank you. Love
I
you.
love you too.